Yes, good evening again. Good evening. Welcome to the marriage classroom, and thank you for making time to be here. And I also want to welcome our online viewers. Karibu sana, tusome pamoja. This evening, you're very welcome. And maybe we welcome all of us. I remember to say myself, sometimes I forget. I'm Jerry Gashoi, or Dr. Jerry Gashoi, married to Mwalimu Michael Gashoi. So I know sometimes I've had people call me, and when I receive the phone, they want to say, I want to talk to daktari. I tell them, daktari, hapana ni mwanamume. Okay, and I tell them, yes, we share the daktari. Yes, so Mwalimu Gashoi was the one who was teaching the last lesson, and we are together in the class. Now, I want us to have a lesson today, and our lesson is a build-up also of what we learned last week. We were talking about building and maintaining healthy relationship. But at the end of that lesson, Mwalimu Gashoi said something that is very key. I know it is some of the things that we do not want it to happen, but if it happens, and because it happens, how do we move on? So he said this, that in case in that relationship you have tried to build, you have done all the building, isn't it? You have tried to maintain it, but then you realize you're getting more hurt, or it is not even healthy, as we call it, a healthy relationship. Then I think the most noble and wise thing to do is to have the relation to break. Now, the breaking does not have to be like unatafuta nyundo. Okay? Vile tunabomwanga nyumba, okay? It doesn't have to be that noisy and messy. Like what somebody was trying to describe the separation, that is going to be noisy and messy. It doesn't have to be like that. People can sit also and agree. Because just even as the scripture says, can two people walk together unless they agree? I mean, in this case, if we are going to part ways, can we agree that we are going to do it? But we do it honorably and respectively, okay? Because this was a friend, he was not an enemy, isn't it? It's only that maybe you've not agreed on some issues. Kindly, let's part well. So we are talking about moving on after a breakup. It doesn't have to be sad, so don't be sad. I want you to be to participate, because it may not have happened to you, and I don't want to say it will happen. Maybe for us it also has happened, but we can also help one another, even for those who are watching us, or maybe later even be able to log in later. So, as we use the word moving on, sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds. You know, I know some people just tell you, move on. And you really know you are stuck somewhere. That moving on is not as easy just being told wake up from bed.
Or accept and move on.
And accept and move on. That's what people keep saying. Accept even during the elections. Watu wale walishindwa tuliwaambia accept and move on. 5 years. And you know you had hopes. You knew. Hata ukajiona ukiendesha hiyo gari. Ukikaa kwa hiyo buge, halafu naambiwa you are not even relevant now for 5 years. And you're telling somebody, accept and move on. I think there needs to be help. And that's why maybe we are here today and helping one another. So sometimes the hardest thing is to move on, because what we feel sometimes is that tendency is to sit there, get stuck and moan and keep talking about how it was. Maybe like the disciples who are walking to Emmaus and they are talking to Jesus, and you can see the mourning, in them as they were saying, we had hoped, Jesus was there, a great prophet. We thought he's the one who is going to save Israel. We had hoped, and now it is 3 days since things happened. Although some people came in the morning and told us he had risen, but you see, it's like our hope is already gone and buried, okay? And so they were mourning. But look at it, when Jesus appears to them and he reveals himself to them, that means hawakuwa na shughuli Emmaus. How comes they returned the same day? Walirudi tu Jerusalem, Emmaus ni kama walikuwa wanaondokea hali hiyo. Okay? As they mourned it. Anyway, we are talking about moving on, and sometimes we feel like it's a bad dream. We'll wake up and find, oh, it is it was just not true. We are still together. Then sometimes we behave like vile tu umepereka rafiki yako, pengine you had, some people had visited over the holidays, and you have escorted them kwa matatu, you've told them bye, and then you start there mpaka jioni ukigoja. Uliwaambia bye au mliachana, but you're keeping hoping si anaweza rudi au anakuja na matatu, unakaa hapo tu. There are people who even live in a relationship, somebody has moved on, but you keep hoping, haya niliona kama ni John, lakini John alimeshaenda. Niliona kama huyu msichana anakaa Grace. It's like you still are stuck kwa stage hoping atakuja. And it's not bad sometimes, but for a season, but not all the time. So I believe that we can do some things and God will help us. One of the things that I believe, the first thing you can do, if there is any breakup, I believe maybe we may not talk about it because we talked about it earlier, but I can just say something brief like Mwalimu vile alisema last lesson, that if people have realized that we are not really moving on, maybe our goals are different, we seem not to agree on the boundaries, we seem not to communicate effectively, we keep quarreling. Like I keep saying, kama mnakutana kila saa, kuna defendant, the accuser, kwa nini, mimi nilikuwa, kwa nini hukufanya hivi, kwa nini kwa nini, and every other time it's like you are defending, you realize you have very little time to one another because it's always case kila wakati. And if you have not solved that issue, then you can agree. I think this relationship is not going the direction we wanted, or it's not healthy to all of us. Would we either, sometimes people use the word, can we give one another space? Okay? And that space is important. Wengine wanapeana space lakini unampigia jioni. So you have said you give one another space. That space is very important for people to think whether I really need this relationship, whether it is important. And I've realized that is where even somebody even who would have thought this relationship is important, ukimkaa ukimuita au ukimuuliza umefikiriaje, you become far and far apart. If you've said let's give one another space, give one another space. But it's very important. If you intend to come back, then give one another space with a specific time. What space? Okay? That space ni kusema nini? Because define it. Because that's where now people, we say, I want some space. So what space? That means, kama tulikuwa tuna meet kuongea, we don't meet again, isn't it? If you were meeting regularly for coffee, give me space, okay? Are we together? So if I was visiting you, give me space. That's what we mean. So space means, let me have my time. Or yes, give me. That is, by the way, even when it comes to space means, if I have been we have been chatting, we are giving one another space. No interfering in somebody's space. Unduwene kila saa unani inbox. Kila saa unani inbox. You're already interfering. We have said space, but we are defining it. Then when we say give one another time, because another one is let us give one another time. We must say what is that length of time. If it is 2 months, means we will meet again and talk about the health or the direction of our relationship. If within those 2 months, I still feel I want to move, allow me. Okay? Yes. If we still feel we can work on it, we can still work on it. But if by 2 months, which we have said, we evaluate whether this relationship is of any benefit to any one of us, because I'm going to say, mimi nasikia kama nimefinyika, allow that person to move on. It's not about you, it's about her, or it's about him. Tuko pamoja, and people can part and tell one another, wish you the best in life. And if you get somebody, you can still inform me, you can invite me. I am not an enemy, okay? I wish you the best. It's only now, this was never meant for us to be together. And that's what good Christians do. Okay? But when it becomes messy and noisy, na hata utaki kusikia jabu mzuri, we will talk about what you should not do in case there is a breakup. But what you need to do first is, if the relationship has broken, now please, one of the important thing is you need to talk about it to somebody. Useme ni yangu, mimi nakaa peke yangu. If there was somebody who knew you are relating, okay? If it is Mary who knew mother you were in a relationship, it's important to say, but the way we broke with so and so. Akitaka kujua, maybe unimwambie, for now this time I don't feel like talking. That's okay. But you've already told somebody. Okay? So that now there will be no many speculations. Pengine akiona John akiwa pale anasema, na mulikuwa akiambia, now you have already known, I've already told you I'm not in. So what we are saying, talk to somebody. Maybe in this thing, we say you can try to see somebody who can help you if possible, but also a significant person. Who is that? It can even be a parent, if they knew. Okay? It could be your best friend, if they knew. It could be a pastor, if they knew. Okay? People that can also listen to you and help you as you say about it. Okay? Si mundu akwambia, nilijua. Hakuna pahali mlikuwa mnaenda, unasikia gai hata fadhali sige. One of those people will say, that's good. Now, I'm no longer alone. You know, it's like, ulikuwa unafikiri unaenda wapi, unatuacha. That is not a friend who can help you in that breakup. The other thing is, you need to get social support. At that time, you may feel like you want to be alone, but that is the worst decision you can make. What you need is just maybe support of somebody who really cares, possibly family. Okay? You just share maybe with, even though they don't, you've not been there, you can visit them and say, I want just to be home for this week. And they're asking why? Say, I just want to be alone. Just being with the family sometimes is another way of getting the support. People who love you regardless. Those are the people you look for, okay? At that time. Wale hata ukikuja kama the prodigal son, they will still embrace you. Si wale wakasema, hey. Hata uko unatuongeresha wakati mulikuwa. You know, it's like enda oga kwanza ukuje. You know, those are not the people that you go to when you really need support. You go to people who love you unconditionally. Those ones to help you so that you may be able to pick up yourself. Then the other thing is important is, maybe from here you can help me. I think you know the direction I'm going. Isn't it? I've seen you talk to somebody, get support. From there, tell me or share with me. Before I think, I'm not saying you have gone through it. Kwa hivyo usiseme nasema yangu. You can see, you can almost nikuchangia katika mjadala. Si kweli? Yes, tell me, what else should you do? Talking about what you should do. Yes.
Also pray about it.
Yes, correct. Pray about it. And in this way, because it will help you also get whatever is negative or what maybe you're feeling bad about, even over to God. Yeah. Another one? Tony, acha kufikiria sana. Hii si mathematics. Niambie.
Be like this, stop acting as if somebody has died. Resume a normal life.
Yes, in fact, that is very good. You come under what not to do, not to cast, we call it, think that is the end of the world, okay? That's good. Yeah, be positive. I mean, more like tell yourself, you tried. It didn't work. Kuna wengine hata wajaanza. There are those people who even during the time of elections, wengine wanaona wengine wameanguka. Afadhali hao waliajaribu na wakupita. Wengine wanasema, and they have never even tried to convince even one person. So, if you got 5-10 votes, you are already famous. Okay. Yeah. So, the other thing is, one of them is forgive yourself and the other person. You know, one of the things is where people be in a relationship, and in case somebody had warned them that it is not going to work, they feel like, I made a really bad mistake. So they can whip themselves for long. What is wrong with me? Kwani mimi mjigaji, si kuona anandaganya. Do you see? What is happening is you almost not realizing that you cannot change the other person, where you can't be the fact that you are the one who had all the mistakes. So forgive yourself, even though somebody had told you and you tried. You know, the other day I was asking the young people in my class, and they asked him, why is it so, like, it's, you know, a relationship when it breaks, it's something that is so bad. I told them, but now you are in school, I thought kuanguka mtihani ndio, wakaniambia hapana, kila mtu anaangukanga mtihani. That's not a big issue. Tunaanguka tunacheka, you know. Then I asked them, why the relationship? He said, you see, kutoka mwanzo, you know, ukiendelea when you are growing, this seems to be the only thing umejichagulia. Au umeona kitu, we mwenyewe katika maoni yako, mawazo yako, umeona something good, and you seem to, ndio unaishikilia mpaka na mikono yote hata na makucha. Even when it's fading, you don't want to. Na kama pengine mzazi hakuwa na yamini, you want to work it against all odds. Hata ukiumia hutaki kusema. Asikwambie, nilikwambia sitaki hiyo kijana hapa. Nikwambia huyo atakuumiza. You know, those are some of the things that what we say. So, but forgive yourself. The other thing is, pick out the lessons learned from that relationship. What Tony is saying, the positives. There's nothing bad. I mean, I believe in that relationship there are those times that people were happy, isn't it? Yes. There's a time when you felt like, I have gotten my princess or my prince. Or now I know what it means to be loved. Then all of a sudden you realize it has gone the other side. That does not mean it never was good. But you can pick out. Again, you can even pick out the person you may not relate, or some of the qualities you'll be looking to in another person. Maybe this person was not trustworthy. Maybe one of the things you learn is, next time I have to be keen, and when I'm, you know, about this. Somebody who is trustworthy, who is respectful, do you understand? Because maybe this is what you suffered in this relationship. Okay? Then the last thing on this is, give yourself time to heal before engaging in another relationship. Let there not be like there is a backfall. It's not like you are replacing a flask with a flask. Okay? Unajua kuna watu mtu, akitoka hivi next week, anaweka kwa status, I'm in a relationship. Issue ni ya kwamba anataka kuonyesha yule jamaa or the lady, hata ukienda, you are not the only being in my githeri. Okay? But only to learn from a frying pan to the fire. And it is worse, I've seen it. People who either have a relationship that breaks, and the lady is like, Amanda or the gentleman has gone. The man unasikia hata within 3 months ameoa. It's almost to tell you, hata ukiniacha nilipata mwigi, lakini hukuwa na nafasi ya kuangalia ni nini ulipata. Kwa sababu ulifikiria ni kubadilisha kibuyu na kibuyu. But you don't know why why you went for that one at first. Kwa sababu pengine yule alienda alikuwa meupe. Any brown girl. Well, kamu. And then akikuja, then after that I realized, gosh, this was not like the other person. And I realized people have even made decisions so rash and they have regretted later. So take time to heal. Especially, I've said, if even the breakup was noisy and messy, and you need even to build your self-esteem, okay? To know actually who you are, whether really, because maybe somebody in that relationship you had been made to feel so small. Kila decision yako, nyamaza. Hata idea, sasa hiyo ni idea unatoa gani? And it is either her idea or his idea that carries the day. You almost feel like you are not significant in that relationship. So by the time you leave it, you feel, I want to be free. Yes, I need 2 questions. Good.
Okay. It's not a question.
Yeah.
I think it's good for every young person to realize any relationship broken goes with the residue.
Yes.
There is a residue ambayo inabaki. Either mazuri
au mabaya.
Na mtu asipopona kutoka kwa hiyo uhusiano aingie katika uhusiano mwingine, atakuwa akijaji huyu ambaye analelate na yeye na vile walikuwa wakirelate na huyo mwingine.
Ni kweli.
Which will be extremely unfair. Kwa sababu huyo mtu sio yule mwingine. Kwa hivyo that is why it is important to heal first.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, Mary.
As for me, I think, in our African culture, many people have not embraced counseling and psychology.
Yes.
But I think after a breakup, many should go see a psychologist
True.
or a counselor because, kama hapa penye umetuambia, you can speak to somebody, you can also speak to your parents. All these people, wengi watakuwa wanachukua side yako because they are protecting. So I also think we should embrace counseling kwa mtu mwenye mtu ako neutral. And then because you had invested so many emotions.
Yes.
It's like a part of you that's been taken away from you. So I think we should embrace this. Ndio watu uweze hata kuheal haraka.
Lovely. Thank you. Yes, David.
Yes. I think that part of healing will help us so much. Kuna hii msemo yenye ina fly, especially for social media, inasema kuoga na kurudi soko.
Mapema ndio best. Ni kuoga na kurudi soko.
So, I think that one is very important. So I have a question. So after a breakup now, how long do you have to take so that you can really enter into another relationship?
Okay. I was reading and sometimes I've seen people who take about 3 months and more. In that way, I'm not saying 3 is the minimum, but I'm saying, I think giving yourself time to evaluate at least what worked and didn't work. Because you see, the issue is this. The problem is that in case you are in a relationship and then there was another person who was eyeing you from another relationship, it's very easy to have what you call a backfall or a fallback. Okay? And that fallback means kama kuna kitu huko unapenda kwa hiyo mtu, that's why you had chosen this guy or this lady, you are ready now to almost close your eyes. Si amenikubali hata kama nimetupwa. So huwezi judge, atakuja na he can even or she can even be worse because anajua huna pahali ya kwenda, si ulikuwa umeachwa. So you'll find you can easily be taken advantage of if somebody knows you have lost a relationship. So when they come, they'll come with their own terms, and you almost like you are silent. So it is important that by the time you choose to decide to go to a relationship, that's what you want, and you can have a say on what you don't want. So that's why it's very important. Yes.
Nilikuwa nataka kuchangia kidogo niseme ya kwamba unaona mtu akijeruhiwa wakati anacheza football.
Yes.
How soon that person goes back to the field.
True.
Depends on the extent of the injury and how soon or how fast he heals. And I would want to compare that with the relationship. Every relationship, once it is broken, inaumiza, it hurts. And we got to accept that. So vile mtu ambavyo, the extent of the hurt and how fast somebody heals is what is going to determine how fast that person starts relating again.
Okay.
Kwa sababu asipopona aingie na majeraha kwa uwanja, ataumizwa hata zaidi.
Atajeruhiwa sana.
Atajeruhiwa hata zaidi. Na kwa hivyo part of responsibility is to say, I think I've not healed from this thing. I think I should not be moving on. Let me heal. And then of course, kama vile Mary amesema, that person probably is working with somebody, preferably a trained professional counselor. Ili akisha pona, sasa anaweza rudi uwanjani.
Anaoga na rudi.
Lakini hiyo ya kuoga kurudi immediately.
By the way, that is usually what the young people are telling one another. But you've realized, you move from one relationship to another, and before you realize, unasema, hiyo mambo nimeisha. And it's true, as he says, there are some people who had gone to play the World Cup, but they got injuries. And it depended on the severity of the injury. If it was severe, they didn't go back, because that meant you can even get more harmed. And others have gotten harmed until unaambiwa hutacheza mpira tena. Okay? So I think instead of going to that extent where you say, mimi mambo ya relationship, nimeachana nayo, then give yourself time to heal. Tunaelewana hapo?
Lakini pia tuseme, isiwe kama ile ya Rod Egerton, ambaye alikuwa disappointed mara moja na akasema ya kwamba sitawahi tena.
Ni kweli. Ukienda kama mjaenda Rod Egerton, one of these days enda huko Kaso na utapewa hiyo story. Kwa sababu the wife came, or the lady, the girlfriend alikuja akagalia nyumba, akasema inakaa nyumba ya ndege, na akarudi. After that, Rod Egerton never married. And not only never married, but never wanted to see a skirt wearer near him. Na si tu skirt wearer, hata ndege, hata kuku nazo zote. You not even keep chicken near him, because the lady said it looked like a chicken house. So even when he made the castle, no woman would go into that castle, neither would you keep chicken around. I don't want you to do that. Like that cat that sat on a hot stove and could not even sit on a cold one either all his life. So that's why we need to heal, okay? Usiseme, usiniambie mambo ya relationship. Hakuna. All people are pretenders, kwa sababu you got 2-3 pretenders. Then after that, umeamua wote ni pretenders. Tuko pamoja? Okay, thank you for that. Maybe what not to do very fast, though it looks like the opposite of the rest, but it's very important. What not to do? Now, stop clinging or begging for another more chance. So you don't keep telling somebody, see, we try another. Kama mtu amesema, now give me another chance, we try again. Now, if somebody has said give time, yes, give time. Kama it's not working and I've said let's go separate ways, don't keep begging for it. I was telling another man, he said, and I was telling him, throughout the night he kept calling this lady and with SMSs, what are you thinking? And the lady had said give me time. Until now, where do you ulali? Yeye msichana analala lakini anashindwa kwa nini unakaa ukimsumbua na amekwambia give me time. But now the issue was this. It is, what do we say? Somebody said, if love is like a butterfly, the more you chase it, the more it runs away. You want to afraid somebody to be your friend? Please don't nag like a butterfly. Just rest. It comes and even perches on your shoulder or even on your head. That's how calm a butterfly is. But if you keep chasing it, you run and you run, and the more you run, the more it runs away. So do not cling or beg for one more chance. The other thing is, do not seek revenge. And that revenge is in the form of where you start bad-mouthing the person, saying, so and so. Now, if you are not with her, please, somebody else may find her very good, or he may be a very good friend to another one. Are we together? So you see, the fact that Devi is no longer my friend, I don't have to keep saying, oh, now Naga Devi. No. Yes, it is true, he is a good man, but we realize we couldn't be able to work together, or we are not good for each other. He may be good for another person. So don't waste time bad-mouthing the other person, backbiting, being sarcastic and all that. No. Let people be as they are, because sometimes we cannot change them if they are quiet. As we were told in the other lesson, sometimes we can't change the personality of people. So don't share their secrets. If they had told you some secrets when you were afraid, kindly die with them, unless it is required in the court of law. Mnanisikia?
Yes.
I know this is what happens. Sometimes I've seen even in schools. School girls, watoto, mnashare mkikosana. Now that is the other thing, to go and befriend another one with what she used to tell me. So I would say everything, and yet we had talked in confidence. This is it, and this is what mature people do. And I believe by the time we are relating, we are mature. That today if I have told you about my secrets, and we have parted, please don't use those secrets to try to befriend. You know, you also even said in a president's, vile unaongea mambo ya huyo, si hivyo tukiachana, ndivyo unaenda kuongea ya yangu. die with those secrets. Don't have to use them to harm the other person. Okay, the other one is don't stalk. Stop stalking. You know what is to stalk? In real life, stalking ni kufuata mtu hata kama hajui. Unaenda kuona anakaa na nani, anakula na nani, ako wapi, and all that. But people are doing worse in stalking people kwa social media. Sasa unaingia tu, hata unaweza kuwa unakuta mtu amejiweka jina ingine na kapicha ingine. Okay? And then I make a friend request. So unafikiri ni Priscilla, but it is still the same Jane. Because I want to know what you are, who are you talking to, who you are relating to. We stalk one another in the Facebook and all that, or even though you are not really stalking, you keep following. Alienda wapi? Unaenda kwa status. Alikuwa wapi? Christmas alienda wapi? Waliongea nani? You always, you know what is happening, and we keep saying, ukiachwa nini?
Achika.
Achika. Sasa achana na Facebook page yake kila saa unataka kujua, au status WhatsApp, Instagram ni nini ameweka, you always they are trying to see. That means there is something you have not let go. So if you do that, you are a stalker. Hata kama umfuati physically, paka pahali anaenda kulala, unaenda. But when you do it that, then you also not moving on. Ile tunasema umekaa stage. Anapita tu anakuambia, "Hello." Anaenda na gari gani? Ilikuwa Mercedes, unakaa tena. Amepita haya, Muso. Uko hapo tu. We hope at a stop. And okay, the other thing is, don't fall back to a relationship immediately. I've already said. Those are the do not have said. Do not fall back in a relationship. Then do not isolate yourself for long, because depression is real. That's something I would want to warn you. Sometimes we think, I just don't want to be with somebody. I don't just want to see people. I don't want to go out anywhere. Before you realize, you have even started self-neglect. You no longer doing what you're supposed to do. If you are going to work, you don't go to work. Kama ni msichana anasoma, haendi darasa, haendi, you have self-neglect, husomi Bible, huobi. And that was because you just said, I needed time. But you realize what you are doing is withdrawal, isolation, and that is where now you will be a target of the enemy now. Atakupea mawazo, unajiangalia sasa, kwa nini hakunipenda? Unaangalia kio. Au ni pua hii yangu, najaribu kuifinya hivi. Au ni masikio yangu. So you start now thinking the problem is within. But it is not. It is him who decided to leave. So there he could have had the reason, not you. Okay? Are we together? If I went to the supermarket na vikombe, nataka vikombe, na niache hii ya green nichukue ya red. Sasa green nasema sasa nini? I'm the one who had the choices, isn't it? That cup is not bad in itself. It isn't. It is the choice that I make, okay? So please don't, when you give yourself time that isolated, you get a lot of in preaching, which sometimes is very destructive. It can destroy you. The other thing is, do not engage in destructive habits to try to cope. Some people just get into some habits like being on social media throughout before you realize you're already addicted. Some of them have unfortunately even gotten hooked to pornography because they started watching and tried to maybe to console themselves. They go to sites that they should not have because they don't even have control. Some even go to gambling or even betting. Others even use drugs. So instead of getting isolated, because that is where the devil gets you, please, that time, if you have, as we said, talk to somebody. If you find it's so hard to move on, get counseling help, get professional help. Even a pastor can help you, okay? To pray with you, and I believe that would help you to move on. Then the other thing is, do not make it a catastrophe. It is not catastrophic or cryptic, hiyo ni kama it is a apocrypha, ni kama hii ndio mwisho ya dunia. You don't make it like that is the worst thing that could have ever happened. Sasa hata ukiangalia unasema mimi niliachwa. Mimi ukiniona ni mtu ameachwa. You almost even feeling like imeandikwa hapa mimi niliachwa. Mimi sijui hata sijui watu wakiniangalia wananiona ni. That's why even sometimes we hide because we think everyone is akiniangalia naona yule mtu aliachwa. Those are some of the things we tell ourselves, and it is not good because it doesn't build us. So that means as you go to do those things, we talk about stages of grief. This is just like a loss. You may need to go through the 5 stages. So I'll go through them briefly. We call it stages of grief, so that you may be able to move on. All those steps we have said to do or not to do will depend on how well you navigate through the stages of grief. One of them, the first one, is always denial. And that one is true. It's possible. Once you may have unaamka kesho unasema ni kama sikusikia vizuri. Kwani niliachwa? Hata ukienda nyumbani you can't go saying, "Oh, thank God niliachwa." You can't even call somebody immediately and say tuliachana. You go trying to say, has it happened? Or it's a bad dream. Okay? You mean that relationship all those years imeisha? So what is happening? The first thing we do is we are in denial. It's like the mind is yet to adjust. So the first thing is we deny. And it's okay for the first time, because before we get overwhelmed, isiwe mzito sana. Kwanza tusema, it could have happened. Just like the way we hear news, we say, mimi sijashindwa. Pana, hiyo kura ihesabiwe tena. Because the first thing is, no, I have not lost. The second thing is, if we know it is true, we decide to get angry. And anger is also important, because what happens? It is because the outcome is not present. Anytime we feel what we expected, hata ukifanya mtihani uanguke sema pana, mimi sijaanguka, then after that you get angry. Now, the problem is where do we direct our anger? Because this is where people go for revenge, okay? In that anger, you are angry either at yourself or at the other person. Haya, kama ameniacha, nae hata date mwingine. It's either me or no one else. And people go for a revenge mission, okay? That is where now you put all his photos kwa Facebook. In a conversation, what are you doing? It is revenge. And revenge comes when people are angry. So you're not processing that anger. And that's what we are saying. If you forgive yourself and forgive the other person, you will not think of harm. You will not be able to gossip the person. You will not use any of his secrets publicly. Because anger, as the Bible says, rests in the bosom of fools. You know, the proverb says, it rests in the bosom of fools. When you are a fool, you do you make a decision, you regret it, okay? So, even when you are angry, please go to God and tell God, I'm angry about this relationship. It couldn't have happened and all that, but make sure that that anger does not get explosive. You don't go and display it. Unakuta wengine. By the way, this is where now we have crimes of love, where people just go and wana. Because wameachwa, denial at first. Wakijua kabisa niliachwa, hata nilimuona ako na mwingine, hata update status amesema I am engaged. They go now. And ndio unasikia mtu short the girlfriend or the other person and the ex and all that, okay? Then the third thing is we go now, if we are through with anger, we go to bargaining. Bargaining is like negotiation. And this is where we said we say don't beg for another chance. That is where negotiations comes. Si John tuendelee, lakini sitakuwa nikikunaga. Okay? Kama hiyo ndio issue, sitakuwa nikikunaga. But maybe that's how I sitakuwa nikifanya hivi. we are trying to bargain, trying to bring a status, trying to be like, want it happen, yet we should have let go. Okay? It also could be the same where people say, tunaweza achana, si lakini tunaweza tuendelee kuwa marafiki. Usini unfriend kwa Facebook, usinitoa. What we are saying is, we are trying to bargain for a status, either a lower status or another status. Do you understand? That bargaining means you are not ready to let go. You are going to get hurt more. Because you see, you say you want to be a friend, but you cannot prevent me from going on and having another relationship, isn't it? So hutakaa ukisema, hata tunakutana unasema, unajua John tulikuwa na rafiki yangu, au una introduce unasema, this was my boyfriend, akaniacha kwa sababu yako. Now, treat him well, otherwise. Have you seen those ladies who come even lecturing you how to treat the man, or even a man is saying, oh, this was my girlfriend, and kintu ya chana, lakini nataka you treat her well, or else, what is it? Or else what? That means you've not moved on. You are still na cling, ukingojea kama ile fisi tulikuwa tunaambia ukitembea hivi inakufuata ikifikiri hiyo mkono vile ina swing itaaguka. Sasa unafuata ukifikiri ataachwa nami nitakuwa karibu kugrab. The fourth thing, which is very sad, is where if the bargaining does not work, we go to depression. And that's where I'm saying there should be all avoidance of people getting isolated for a long time, staying alone, indoors alone. Reach out to support of friends and family. If not friends, go to family. I've said people who will welcome you. It doesn't matter what is your condition that time. Whether you have no money, whether you have no sura and all that. Ni watu hata ukida nyumbani watakwambia, hawezi kuambia rudi na hiyo je umekuja. Home is always home, isn't it? Kindly. That time, let's not be there alone, isolated. And we no longer want to see anybody, because this is where it can go south. And when it goes south, before you realize, people are either depressed completely, they are taking medication, or somebody has committed suicide because of a relationship. Something that could have even been used as a stepping stone to a better and healthier relationships. Okay? Because some of these relationships, indeed, as my husband said in last lesson, some of them need to die for them to have a better one. Because some of them are toxic and they become worse and worse every day. And before they become toxic, watu wanapigana, let you end it well so that you can also be able to learn from it and move on and to a better future, and I believe. And the last one on this case, and this is where we say hallelujah. If you have been able to accept, you are able to move on. We call it acceptance. Once you accept, umeachwa na umeachika, then you say, hata kama nimeachika, I know that was not good for me. But I know right now I am ready to date. Iyo, unaweza sema, nitaenda naoga sasa, naenda soko. Ni kama vile Daudi alisema wakati alioba, he fasted and the boy died. When the people were asking, what do we tell him? Akauliza, akaambiwa the kijana amekufa, akasema he woke up, washed and went to eat. And he was that why he said no. You see, when he was alive and he was sick, there was hope. But now that he's dead, why fast anymore? I'm the one to go to him. It is not him to come back, isn't it? This is a situation that is not reversible. So what do? Akaoga, akakura. After that, he rejoiced and he was happy and they were able to conceive and get Solomon. Isn't it? Yes, lakini akiendelea hapo, agepata nafasi ya kuamuka na kula. What I want to say is this, there's a time to mourn and pray for that relationship. It works. If it is dead, wake up, accept, and thank God for it, and tell the Lord, give me grace. The next relationship, I want you to help me to make it work. And it does. And that's why we are here to tell you, marriage works because God is true and faithful. Praise the Lord. Amen. And one day, that hope that was deferred will be a fruit of life. What you call it? A tree of fruit. As the Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when it comes to fulfillment, it's like a tree of life. Okay? And you find it makes you grow in a relationship and even in the marriage. And you are happy that that one didn't work, but this one has worked. Okay?
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much. God bless you. I think we may not have had enough time for questions, but we have had time to learn, isn't it? Yes, we learn what we learn and share with others. God bless you. Thank you, our viewers also.
To get the notes of today's lesson, visit www.mbcimedia.com/TMC. Catch the repeat of the marriage classroom every Tuesday at 10 p.m.